Hi, folks. My name is Cece Nunez, and I'm one of the study abroad advisors with the Office of International Affairs. Thank you for joining us today as our co-host will be presenting on financial aid while abroad. Annabelle, if you want to go ahead and take it from here.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Annabelle Garza, and I'm a financial aid advisor as well as a study abroad program coordinator. And today we'll be talking about your financial aid while abroad. Let's, if you see here below are frequently asked questions that will help you understand how your aid works when you're abroad. And at the end of the presentation, as Cece brought out when you guys first logged in, we'll be answering any questions that you may have. You could throw them in there in the chat and then we'll answer those at the end. Like she mentioned, this presentation will be recorded so you can reference to it again later, or if you're unable to stay for the whole presentation. So don't worry, they will be available for you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So how do I apply? So of course, to be considered for any financial aid, even loans, you must complete the FAFSA or DREAM Act application. If you're planning to attend the summer abroad program, you also have to complete the summer financial aid application. And below is the link to where you can find that application. And as well as for summer aid, a little bit different than fall and spring. Aid is based on available remaining eligibility, and it's a first come, first served basis, and it's awarded to those with the highest need. So it wouldn't be like in the fall and the spring where you are awarded based off of what you're eligible for on your application. It is first come, first served basis. So you'll want to make sure that you apply for summer financial aid as soon as the application opens, which is typically around March 2nd. So how will you know I am participating? So the Office of International Affairs will provide our office with a list of participants once you are accepted into the program. So you wouldn't have to notify us, they will do that for you. How will my financial aid change? So once the list of participants is received and the budget to your program is available, our office then will package you with financial aid based off of your program budget. So you will be awarded up to the full cost attendance of your program, and all eligible aid will be based off of your FAFSA or DREAM Act. And all requirements listed on your checklist must also be satisfied. So will my financial aid cover the cost of a study abroad program? So as mentioned in the previous slide, you will be awarded up to the full cost of attendance of your program, which will be a combination of grants, scholarships, and loans. And just as when you were here, we award you up to the full cost, whether you're living on or off campus. The same applies when you're abroad. If your program is more expensive than if you were to be here, then we would increase your financial aid to cover the cost of your whole program. Or if your program is cheaper than if you were to be here, then we would decrease your awards. However, again, it would still be enough to cover the cost of your whole program. Again, this is a combination of grants, scholarships, and loans. So if you wish to not borrow loans, then at that point, you might come out of pocket for some expenses of your program. How will I receive my financial aid? So how your financial aid is dispersed depends on the type of program you are participating in. So for EAP students, our office will notify UCAP of the financial aid that you are awarded. Those awards are committed by our office. That committed by our office will be credited to your UCEAP account automatically and transferred to UCAP. Then UCAP will use that to pay your program fees, and they will deduct that from your financial aid. And once your program fees are paid, if there's any funds left over, you would receive that as a refund directly from UCAP. So nothing would be done through UC Merced. Everything would be done through UCAP. And again, that refund, you would be able to use it for out-of-pocket expenses such as food, books, or airfare, etc. For IOP students, it's a little bit different. Any of your accepted and approved financial aid will be dispersed directly to you. And at that point, you will be responsible to pay your study abroad program yourself. So it would be your responsibility to pay the host campus for any fees directly. It wouldn't be our campus. We would just send those funds directly to you. Will my grants and scholarships transfer to my study abroad program? So if you're participating in a UCEAP program, yes, all of the grants and scholarships awarded to you will be and can be transferred and used to pay your EAP expenses, which also is including the Cal Grant. If you're an IOP, You are not eligible for any UCM institutional or any source of funds that come from UC Merced. So for example, the Bobcat grant, you would not be eligible for the Bobcat grant if you're attending a IOP program. So essentially, obviously those funds wouldn't be transferred or paid to you if you're going to be in the IOP program. Below there are EAP scholarships that can be found on the UC EAP website. If you want to go through the link and view any scholarships that you could possibly be eligible for if you're planning to be abroad next year. And then any other non-EAP specific scholarships can be found there on the link below. And again, this presentation is being recorded. So if you are not able to jot those down right away, you could always reference back to it or take a quick picture with your phone. So that way you can look up any scholarships, especially if you're not wanting to borrow loans, because again, if you don't borrow loans, then you will, or you might have to come out of pocket for something, whether it's your airfare, your food, books and supplies, whatever it may be. So these scholarships could possibly help you to have to borrow less in loans. So if you haven't already heard about SAP, Satisfactory Academic Progress, it's important you're aware, as this can affect your financial aid eligibility. So at the end of the spring term, SAP is ran on all students to check to see if they meet the terms and conditions to be eligible for financial aid for the following academic year. So the terms and conditions are you have to have a 2.0 GPA or higher, pass at least 70% of all the courses you attempted, and be within your maximum time frame, so essentially graduate on time. If you do not meet all three of these terms and conditions, you will not be eligible for aid for the following year, and you will then at that point need to appeal, which this can affect you if you're planning to go abroad in the summer, as no summer aid will disperse until SAP is ran. And if you're having to appeal, we won't disperse that aid until that appeal is reviewed and if it's approved. It also, again, could affect you if you plan to go abroad next year as well. So at the end of the spring, if you don't meet these terms and conditions and you're not eligible for aid for next year, then again, you would do that appeal process. If it's approved, then you're eligible for aid moving forward at the end until next spring when we run SAP again. So it's really important that you keep these in mind, these three terms and conditions in mind, because regardless whether you're abroad or you're here, you need to make sure that you meet all three in order to be eligible for your financial aid. So for more information about the policy of SAP, you could visit the registrar's office website, as well as our financial aid website. It does have a lot of helpful information to kind of have a better understanding of SAP. So these are very important deadlines and due dates you must always be aware of, again, whether you're going abroad or you're not. If you're selected for verification, all requirements listed on your checklist are due no later than June 1st. So once we start uploading the 21-22 FAFSA and DREAM Act applications, we will notify all students who were selected, and then we'll add those requirements onto your checklist, and you will then have till June 1st to submit all the documents. I'd recommend the sooner these documents are submitted, the better, so you can make sure that your aid disperses on time and that you have that all taken care of before you go abroad. You don't want to have to worry about that while you're in another country. You also want to make sure that your FAFSA and DREAM Act are submitted before the March 2nd deadline. So the one that just opened up in October for next year, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you do submit it before the March 2nd deadline. Failure to do this and to miss that June 1st deadline will result in you losing out on financial aid. So it's very important that you also check your checklist or any emails that our office will send you to make sure that you meet all those deadlines listed on your checklist. We will communicate with you, especially when abroad, is via email and through your checklist. So please make sure that you're constantly checking that. So now at this time, we have some time to answer some questions. So I'm more than happy to answer those. We'll go ahead and look at questions on the chat. If you do have any questions later on, you could always call our office. Those are our hours now. Of course, we're not on campus, but we're still answering our calls. We're available Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, and then Friday, 8:30 to 3. There's our website, our email as well, if you wish to email our office instead of call, or you could visit our website, where we have a lot of important and updated information, especially during this time that we're all remote. We are trying to keep that up to date as often as possible to, give any information to all the students. And well, again, our main phone number and our fax number is listed there below. And if you haven't done your FAFSA or DREAM Act, that's our school code listed there. So please make sure again that you do that by March 2nd. So go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Well, let me go. I'll leave it here. So that way, if they want to jot this down. But do we have any questions, Cece?
We do. We had a question come through, and that's if we receive study abroad scholarships, will this affect how much other aid we qualify for, like grants and loans, for example?
So essentially, yeah. So what we do is to make room for those scholarships, we have to reduce something else because we can't go over the cost of your program. So for example, let's say the cost of your program is 15,000 for the semester and you already awarded up to that 15,000. We would have to reduce something to give you that scholarship. So essentially what we would do is reduce your loans. Since obviously that scholarship is more beneficial to you because it's free money, then we would reduce your loan to make room for that scholarship. The Cal Grant, if you have a Cal Grant, that one is specifically for tuition and fees. So if you were to get a scholarship that is specifically for tuition and fees, you can't have both. You could only have one since they're both basically doing the same thing. But if that scholarship is just, for anything else, and then we would reduce your loans to make room for that scholarship, which again is more beneficial to you because now you're having to borrow less in loans.
Another question that came through, should we apply for summer financial aid, even if we're not sure if we want to join a summer abroad program, or do we just get into a summer abroad program?
It's up to you. I mean, if you do plan on applying for a summer abroad program, I would say yes, because again, it is a first come, first serve basis. Typically for summer, I will tell you that a lot of the times it's just loans. There's not a lot of funding left to spread out evenly to everybody. So it is just loans. And if you go abroad in the summer, it tends to be a little bit more expensive if you're not wanting to borrow loans for you to come out of pocket. But yes, if you're having thoughts of possibly going abroad in the summer, then go ahead and submit that application when it opens. Like I said, typically it's March 2nd. And then essentially we would go ahead and package you if withdraw or you decide to not go through with it, then obviously nothing's going to happen. Everything will stay as is.
Yeah, I'd encourage students that if they are thinking about summer study abroad, to connect with either myself or other study abroad advisors within our office, so that we can discuss that timeline. Because, like Annabelle mentioned before, it is on a first come first serve basis. So the earlier that you can will want to apply for your program, for your study abroad program, but also keep that summer financial aid in mind, the better it would be. Good question.
And just another thing about summer, you are using up your lifetime eligibility aid. So for example, Pell Grant, if you have a Pell Grant, you are using some of that eligibility that you have throughout your lifetime because you're using it for summer, whether you're abroad or you're doing it on campus or at another UC. So just kind of keep that in mind as well.
Right. And like Annabelle mentioned before, there are scholarships available for students to apply to. And that's something that in our office, we advocate students to do. We host scholarship workshops for students throughout the semester so that we could essentially give tips and help students how to be a strong applicant for that specific scholarship. So there are definitely ways and funding to help you plan for your study abroad program, your study abroad trip. Any other questions? Okay, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording now. Annabelle, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about what it means to have or to qualify for financial aid for your study abroad program. If any other questions do come about either after our session, just know that you could reach out to Annabelle or any of the study abroad advisors within the Office of International Affairs at UC Merced, and we can direct those questions to Annabelle or financial aid advisors. Thank you, and I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And again, like she said, feel free to reach out to us over the phone, email, visit our website. But again, thank you, everyone, for your attention.